Step on you. Oh, she's trying to lay eggs, you see?
A phoenix or something like that. But it was killing the swans and things like that. So it was amazing.
All the way
It's a whole other
down.
story of it.
Oh my God.
Okay, so where we are now, right here, this is called the Chapel Without Walls. So this is symbolic of what Paramahansa wanted to create. He wanted to create an organization that would teach people how to meditate, but not be about any one religion. So one of the great things about this place is you'll find Catholics here, you'll find Protestants here, you'll find Jewish people. I have a friend who's a rabbi from Israel that's in here, Islamic people, Hindus, Buddhists, it doesn't matter. So the temple, or the Temple Without Walls, had to be refurbished. It was filled with termites, and so I think in about a month they're going to get this fixed. They'll put the lotus blossoms on the top, and so anyway, that's why we can't walk around that part. We're going to walk back this way. But what we have back here, if you can see it, is it's a crypt, and Gandhi's ashes are in that crypt. So this is called the Gandhi Peace Memorial. So when Paramahansa, like I said, he arrived here in 1920, and he traveled around the country, opened temples, etc. And around 1935, he went back to India. His father and his guru were in the process of passing away, so he wanted to visit them one more time. So in 1935, he went back to India, and while he was there in India, a mutual friend of Gandhi and Paramahansa introduced them. And Gandhi asked Paramahansa to initiate him into the technique of Kriya Yoga. And so that's the hallmark of what this organization is about, is teaching you how to meditate in this way, so you can actually let the particles kind of sift down. So Gandhi was one of the original members of self-realization. Now Gandhi's story is an interesting one. Most of us have heard about Gandhi. But Gandhi was born around 1870, was educated, and got his law degree in London around the turn of the century, and then traveled to South Africa. And while he was in South Africa, he supported the Indian people that were being oppressed by the white minority, the BOER, the Boers, and then traveled back to India and took on his project of chasing the British out of India, so that they could have freedom for the Indian people. Now, usually when something like that happens, the British have been there for 200 years. You think of someone like George Patton, big guy, and he's got thousands of guns and munitions. Gandhi looked like he needed a good meal. He was weighed less than 100 pounds, and he didn't have guns. He got his strength from meditating. He got his strength from enhancing his consciousness. If I had a coin and I flipped it into that glass of water, there'd be a lot of commotion, okay? Relatively a lot of commotion because of the coin just went in there. But if I took that same coin and put it in the lake, it'd be hardly anything. The same thing with someone who meditates and gets in touch with who they are. Their strength comes from their consciousness. So nothing bothered him. Nothing bothered the man. So when people started following what he was saying, and the British just gave up. They said, you're free. And so that's what happened. Gandhi was assassinated by a Hindu fanatic who shot him in the chest. And Gandhi, before he died, forgave the person who assassinated him. That's amazing. So one of my favorite stories about Gandhi was that he was, you've seen these newsreels where people are getting on a train and they're kind of glomming on the trains that's leaving the station, and they're just hundreds of people kind of magnetized to the train. Well, Gandhi and a friend of his were getting on a train in South Africa, and his right shoe fell off. So he grabbed his left shoe and threw it back. And his friend said, "Why'd you do that?" He says, "Well, the right shoe fell off. It's useless without the left." It's interesting when you hear that, you kind of laugh, but take a look at the consciousness that allowed that to happen. See, Gandhi lived in the you and me world. You and I have inherited a you or me world. So most of us, when a right shoe would accidentally fall off, the conversation would be, "Oh, how did that happen? Poor me. Now I got to buy another shoe." And all of the stuff and the commotion and the drama that goes with that. Gandhi's first thought was, no one can use that right shoe without the left one. See, that's a far out way to live. There's a guy with power. That's a saint. That's what Paramahansa is pointing to. That's available to all of us to invent, to actually create. That's where heaven on earth is. There's a consciousness like that. So that's Gandhi. So, on either side of the crypt, there are these two statues. I don't know if you can see them. They're two female statues. Does anyone know who that is? Someone who's not from the Orient.
Kuan Yin.
Nope. You gave it away.
My
Okay.
girl.
So that's Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin, if you're from the Orient, is a familiar person. And she's symbolic. She's the goddess of compassion. So Kuan Yin literally means she who hears the cries of the world. See, SRF is about inviting you to be a spiritual warrior, to actually be out in life, having it work, throwing out the left shoe, okay? And to do that successfully, you've got to develop some certain qualities. One of them is compassion. So you can't be out there and being compassionate with the delusion of the world and make any difference. You actually have to get over there and be with people. And Kuan Yin is a symbol of that. Someone who really is empathetic and is compassionate. So Gandhi got his inspiration from the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is like the Bible of the Hindu religion. He was never without a copy of it in his pocket. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita is about nonviolence. It's about love, not conflict. And that's where he derived his strength. Okay? The next saint is around the lake, and we would visit it, but you can actually see people walking there. It's Krishna. Now Krishna, how many people know who Krishna is? Okay, so people in the East. Krishna, again, I didn't know a lot about Krishna before I started with, I knew Hare Krishnas, I know who they were, and I thought they were a little strange, but I didn't really delve into anything about Krishna. But as the Christian religion has a triune God, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, the Hindus also have a triune God. It's God the Father, Brahma, Vishnu, the second person of the Trinity, which is an incarnation. Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu, and Shiva, like the Holy Spirit. So Krishna lived on earth about 700 years before Christ. No, 3,000 years before Christ. So about 5,000 years ago, Krishna was here. And the Bhagavad Gita is how the West mostly knows who Krishna is. And the Bhagavad Gita is a story, and it's basically a conversation, okay, between Krishna and his protagonist, who is Arjuna. And if you read this, and you can put yourself into the shoes of Arjuna, he's about to go into battle, okay? And Krishna's his spiritual coach. Arjuna doesn't want to go into battle, especially because the people who he's going to do battle with, he knows them. They're relatives that have taken advantage of his people. And so he's telling Krishna, I don't want to fight. You know, he's a great warrior, but he doesn't want to fight. Krishna says, you don't have a choice. You have to fight. It's your duty to be out there battling. And you can start to see that that's the human condition. We see things out there, we don't want to handle it. You know, I'd rather just sit at home and get the remote and watch the Lakers or whatever. And Krishna said, look, if you're going to be on this spiritual path, you at least have to have the compassion to see that there's some things to do with your life. So there's this conversation that goes on between the two, and it's a spiritual classic. So enough said about that. We could take the whole hour about that, and probably more. But that's Krishna. And I'm not an expert on Krishna, but he had an enormous impact on the consciousness of the people who lived in India and then far out after that. So are you getting value out of this? Are you getting the taste of what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to walk around the lake and just follow me.